Hi, my name is Jack Davis. I've been preaching on social media for roughly 3 years now, and I think it's time y'all heard my testimony. So I was born and raised in the small town of Vidor, Texas, and God blessed me with the best family I could have ever asked for. An older brother, younger brother, Cole and Sawyer, they're something else. And then I got two amazing parents who are probably my biggest supporters ever. But despite being blessed into an amazing family, I still face many, many challenges. So like I said, when I grew up, I wasn't the biggest guy in the room, okay? I was actually the smallest. But one thing that I loved more than anything that made me feel like I was on top of the world was mixed martial arts. My mom put me and my older brother Cole in mixed martial arts. It was called Taekwondo, and I actually got picked on for it when I don't know why, but that's just how it was. But I didn't care. That was a big part of my life because that is where I found all the friends I thought I could ever have. You know, I didn't really think I would ever find any friends until I did this. And when my brother left it, I left it, and then I got back into it. And when I did, that's when I really, really got into it. I stayed in it for a couple years. I had the bestest of friends ever. I went all the way up to, I think, a second degree level 2 black belt. Not to brag on myself, I was one of the star pupils. Like I was up there, you know, I was pretty good. But as time moved on, all good things must come to an end, unfortunately. And all the friends that I had made there had left. And it kind of just left me there with almost nothing. I didn't have anyone anymore. I felt alone, and it just, I hate to say it, but that chapter in my life definitely closed. And there have been times when I've wanted to go back to it, but every time I've tried to go back, I could tell that God had shut that door. You know, God had definitely worked in my life in the background, and I had never, ever known it. I guess that came from growing up in a church, you know. So when that door of my life shut, I felt something in my heart just like get ripped out. But I also felt a little bit of comfort there. And I think that was God telling me, hey, dude, whoa, calm down. This is just the beginning of things. You know, you may feel alone right now, but really you're not. And I didn't know God. I really didn't. I may have gone to church, but that doesn't mean I was active in it. It was really just me complaining to my mom in the back pew, like, yo, when are we leaving this? I want to go home. I want to play video games, go outside and do something, you know? But like I said, God works in mysterious ways. And when you think he's not working in your life, he is. So with my martial arts career kind of down the drain and gone, that hole in my life was soon filled by something that I didn't think would ever take it over, and that was hunting. I literally went from being your nerdiest guy ever in junior high to all-time hunter. I had mentioned that my dad had done everything in his life, and one thing that he's done was hunting. He's hunted in Montana, Canada, Arkansas. He's killed elk, black buck, rams, whitetail, axis deer, turkeys, more ducks than the good Lord has probably produced, you know. That's probably why there aren't as many around anymore, because him and my family killed all of them. Just kidding. But my passion for martial arts, where I found my identity, would soon be taken by hunting, and I would never know it until later on down the road. So here I am, grown up a little bit in junior high, and I'm hunting here and there, okay? Junior high was definitely the hardest time in my life. And I think it's the hardest time for everyone because that's when you're growing up. Hormones are all over the place. You know, you're introduced to the sin of the world, and you're trying to find who you are. Well, while all the popular kids and football players were picking on me and messing with me and stuff like that, I really only had 3 friends that I could count, okay? Two of them I hung out with every other weekend. It was comic books, gaming, pizza, staying up till 3 a.m. Okay, during the day, you know, we're just kind of goofing off in their neighborhood or something, or over at my house just being stupid, okay? And the other friend, I could say, he was a football player. I'm not going to mention his name, but he kind of helped me. He helped me out a lot in my life. You know, my other two friends, they were there for me, okay? But what I really looked for in life were brothers. Like I said, I didn't really know God that well, but I still prayed, and that came from growing up in church. All I ever prayed for was brothers, and I definitely did not, unfortunately, find that in junior high. Like I said, junior high was rough, and I felt out of place. I felt out of line a lot. I was picked on, pushed around, bullied. I was the small kid wearing glasses and braces and just trying to find his way in life. But the one time I never, ever felt out of place was when I was with my dad in a deer stand hunting bucks. I mean, when hunting season was here, we were going. We were up at the deer lease. We were camping out there. I remember my most favorite time ever was when I talked my mom into coming up to the deer lease with us, my two brothers, my older and younger, and we're sitting there by the fire telling stories at the deer camp, deer hunting. You know, I'd always want to see what the old guys would come up with that next morning or evening. We're out there skinning hogs, freaking, you know, rubbing blood on our faces like we're freaking Indians and stuff like that. And it just seemed like all the problems that I had faced were gone. And that was because I was outside hunting. And I never knew that until I got older. Because hunting makes the best memories ever, and you never realize it until you get older and start doing it for yourself. It's no longer your dad dragging you out there, you know, like, listen, son, I want you to kill a buck. Come on, there he is. And you're sitting there asleep in the deer stand. But really, now it's, holy crap, I'm 16 years old with my dad. Dad, there he is. Boom. That is when you really realize it. So a little bit of left field. Anyone that's young watching this, don't take hunting for granted. Treasure every moment of that. All right, so I want y'all to picture this setting right here. It's 8th grade, okay? I'm the smallest guy that you have ever seen, okay? And that one friend I told you about that I didn't really hang out with, he was one of the popular kids, that one friend had literally talked me into playing football without even trying. Like, he never really said, hey, Jack, you should play football. I just kind of looked at him. I was like, you know what? That's something I want to do. When I was younger, me and my older brother, we played pee-wee football and stuff like that, tackle, and it was fun, but I didn't really have that disciplinary mentality that I got from mixed martial arts, you know? So then I was thinking, you know what? I'm going to try this out. You know, he's killing it over there. I want to do it. So again, I'm the smallest guy in the dang room, competing with some of the biggest guys out there, okay? And the year before 7th grade that I just talked about, I had a lot of built-up anger. Like, I think, yeah, I got in a fight in 7th grade, a few, okay? I finally got tired of kids picking on me. So here we are in football, and turns out I had an act for hitting people very, very hard. I was an angry kid. Like, from here on out, my whole life was lived through nothing but pure anger and rage towards all the people that had picked on me. And that is not the life to live, okay? It's not. It only gets worse from here. So I remember after practice, we're going out on the field, and I looked at my coach. His name was Coach Vickery. He could tell I was nervous. This is like the first game I had played since I was a little kid, you know, playing Pee-wee. I was a linebacker. I can't remember if I was outside or inside. Either way, I was a linebacker. And I looked at him, and I was like, Coach, I am really freaking nervous right now. Like, what if I mess up? And he looked at me dead in the eyes. He grabbed my shoulder pad. He said, Jack, if you forget what you're supposed to do, you find the dude with the football and you hit him as hard as you can. That or the first person you see, and you'll be just fine. And that's what I did. I ended up becoming a starting linebacker in junior high all the way up till my sophomore year. And I loved it. It was the best thing ever. I mean, I hated waking up at 3 in the morning, but it was all right. So, like I said, I had an act for hitting people very, very hard. Again, I wasn't the biggest guy in the room. I definitely got my butt handed to me more times than I can count. I remember my buddy Trenton Kahn was on the field, and we're practicing, and here he comes running down the freaking field with a football in his hand, and I get in his way. He lowered that front shoulder and smoked me. He sent me flying like 3 or 4 feet back. My helmet was covered in grass. Everyone picked me up, and they're like, "Jack, you okay?" And I said, "Where'd that brick wall come from?" But, yeah. It was a grand old time up until junior year when it all came to an end, unfortunately. So in football, I still had those 2 close friends that I always had hung out with. But I ended up making many, many more. I quickly learned that the best way to defeat your enemy is to make them your friend. And that's what I did. All the guys that had bullied me in 7th grade and junior high and stuff, I had made them my friends. I remember one time there was this one guy who was trying to fight me because I got mad and ended up talking crap to his face, and he was like freaking 7 foot tall. He was jacked and stuff. He didn't really come from the best home life, and I was scared. Like, I knew I didn't want my butt handed to me or get embarrassed, so I just kind of walked away. And some of the other players found out and like, "Dude, where's this guy at? We're about to end this real fast." And I was like, "Whoa, hold on a minute. I'm not trying to kill this guy," but, anyways, I had started making a lot more friends. But, 16 rolls around, and my parents had bought me my first truck. It was a bluish gray GMC. I think it was a 2016. It was full drive. It was on a 6-inch lift on 35s with stock chrome rims. It had like a little chrome bumper guard. It was like the truck of everyone's dream. And that's when the 2 words that would set me off the most came to be. Daddy's money. When you get the littlest kid rolling up in the biggest truck possible that every kid dreams of, okay, it kind of went to my head a little bit, I'm ashamed to say, but it happens. Oh yeah, I had some guys that didn't come from the most fortunate of families, great guys, bully me over it, and I just kind of ignored it. It hurt. It stuck with me, but I just kind of ignored it. I tried to keep my family and where I came from, like, on the under wraps. I didn't want everyone knowing that, I came from this grand family, because I hated being called daddy's money. Even my friends that I found in football, like, "Dude, I heard you got a pond. Want to come fishing? People are trying to be my friends now. I'm just like, maybe another time. Let's go find another pond. I hear Smith Lake is good, But, it sucked. It kind of made it to where I couldn't appreciate what my dad had given me and stuff, but it also humbled me a lot. And I think it may have been that truck that had me meet the girl of my dreams, because it definitely wasn't my looks, and it definitely wasn't my size, But, yeah, her name is Megan, and God definitely blessed me with her. We met at Smith Lake, the local swimming hole. I had the biggest crush on her, and the only way I knew to flirt with her was to push her off the floating dock there. And it was love at first sight, God's working in the background of my life, and I never even really knew him. And she hated me. She thought I was the most annoying person ever. When in reality, I'm just a lonely country boy with a lot of problems who's also a nerd trying to find someone in his life to, love and accept him. And I kept going. I kept pushing. I kept texting her, even though she ignored me most of the time, until one day she finally gave me a chance. And from there, we took off. And so here I am with the best truck I could ever ask for, the girl of my dreams now who looks past all the stupid, and finally a handful of friends that I'm still kind of keeping at arm's length here, but slowly letting in. And you're wondering, Jack, how could things possibly be going wrong for you now? Okay, well, like I said earlier, sophomore year is about to roll around. So sophomore year rolls around. And up until this point, you know, it's been sounding pretty good, but this is where everything kind of hit the fan for me. It almost seemed like my life just kind of fell apart, like just like that, okay? So I got my girlfriend, great truck, I'm hunting, I'm loving life. You know, football kind of really, I would have thought hunting would have replaced mixed martial arts, but really football did. So those two friends I had mentioned that had been with me for a very long time, we fell out. Everything fell apart, sort of. You know, one got a girlfriend, and she was insecure, great person, you know, it all worked itself out, but she had some insecurities, and that kind of drove both of them away from me and Megan, as well as my other friend and stuff like that, and we all just fell apart. And then my knee got messed up, so that took me out of football. I had this thing called plica. It's where skin grows in between like all the important parts of your knee, I get like the joints or whatever, your ACL and all of that, and it rubs against the bone and stuff, and almost tears it apart, like deconstructs your knee in a way. But so I had to have minor knee surgery, and the best way for it to heal was to not play football. I couldn't really do any extracurricular activities with it. So I had found my identity in football, and it got taken away. I had finally thought I had two of the best friends ever, and we had a falling out. So now it's me and Megan. I'm so grateful for her. And it kind of almost seemed like I had lost a lot. And I was just broken. Anger and rage was just building up inside of me. I ended up just being a freaking ticking time bomb. I would explode on Megan. I would explode on life, on my parents. There's a few holes in my wall, you know, and I just didn't know where I was at as a teenager at all. Still getting picked on here and there, but God was still working in the background of my life. And eventually a few things started to pan out in my life, you know. He was working his way through me, and I had never really known it. I had just kind of took a step back, and I had met a few more friends. He gave me a few more friends in my life. One of them, his name was Everett. He's one of my bestest friends ever. He's still my bestest friend ever to this day. Me and him started taking off, you know, with football out of my life temporarily. We ended up duck hunting. So in my recovery time with my whole knee surgery and stuff, you know, I had physical therapy to do, but really I started working out a lot. And I did what I could with my legs. My legs always been my strongest muscle. That's irrelevant. But I started to feel more confident about myself. You know, I'm getting bigger, I'm getting swole and stuff like that, gains. And I just really started to feel a lot more confident about myself. And it really prepared me for what my senior year had in store. Senior year, I went back to football, and I hit it hard. I'm watching more film than I ever have been. You know, I was starting all the way up until my sophomore year, and now I'm coming back to get my spot. And you're probably thinking I'm about to have this big old comeback story and whatnot. In reality, it's the exact opposite. I got there, I worked my butt off trying to get my spot back. Everything that I had fought for and had held up in football just went away. And it hurt. And that anger that I talked about came out on that field during practice. My friends turned into my enemies. Okay, the coach at one point, this is a true story, at one point the coach literally had to pull me out of practice because I was hitting the other players too hard to where I was almost injuring them. And then I got in his face and I was like, what the F are you doing? And he said, I'm trying to keep the peace here. This is practice, not a game. Some of the other players kind of respected it, like, yo, this is what we're going to be dealing with in a game, why not? But it was embarrassing. It really was, and it hurt, and I had lost my identity again. I had forgot about hunting and focused on football, but I quickly realized that God was just shutting another door in my life, and he was about to open the biggest door ever. So with football out of the way, here comes the party phase, guys. Me and Everett were running strong, still with Megan. I think this year is going to be 7 years. I just kind of drowned everything in alcohol and didn't even know it. Like, I went on a massive party phase. And in between this entire party phase, I had met God. I'm sitting in my room just scrolling through YouTube, and my mind is just like blank, you know. I'm just thinking, football's over, what do I do now? That's where I was. That was my identity, you know. I mean, I could still hunt, but I don't know. Well, I came across this Christian video, this guy talking about God. And it really clicked with me. Like, God was right there in that room. I had actually finally met him for sure. And at the end of the video, the guy I watched, I can't even tell you who he was. He said the prayer, giving your life to Christ, and I went along with it. And from then on, my life was changed. And soon after that, I had realized that I had an act for talking, like preaching. Like, I would just start talking to myself, and I'd catch myself like, whoa, that was good. So I talked to my mom, like, yo, how do I become a better Christian? And it's the simple stuff. Pray to God, read your Bible, go to church, you know? And that's true. That's true. So that's what I started doing. But when I realized that God had called me to this giant task of preaching, I got scared and I ran from it. Kind of like, I think it was Jonah. Someone correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong. He got ate by the whale because he ran from God and stuff like that. And that's when the party phase kicked off. Every weekend, I'm listening to UCLA and stuff, getting turned up, drinking alcohol. If I had enough time, I'd tell y'all some wild stories, but it's embarrassing. Like, I'm not going to say I was Phil Robertson level gone, but I was gone. Like, my friends had to calm me down. That anger came back up in that alcohol, and it was literally, the only way they could calm me down was by knocking me out. Either they did or the alcohol did, okay? So it was that. And I learned that I had to get my act together and I had to quit it. And so that's what I did, you know? So I think it was probably like a 2-year bender, maybe, year and a half. We're going to say 3 max of nonstop summers of partying, going out there, getting drunk, hunting alligators and gar fishing at night and stuff, and running boats, throwing caution in the wind, had to come to an end. And the brothers that God had given me, we were all in that together. You know, God had finally given me what I had prayed for, and that was true brothers, true friends. And we were all in the same boat together. So when I quit drinking, they slowly started fading off of it. When I gave my life to Christ, you know, one time we found ourselves in the middle of the marsh talking about Jesus. And they're asking me all these questions, and I'm answering, and I'm asking all these questions, and they're answering. And it all just kind of worked out in a way. So I had to get off of it. We all did. We stopped throwing so much caution into the wind, and that's when God opened the biggest door of my life. So with me no longer chasing the world and diving into the parties and alcohol and stuff like that, I'm now chasing after God and finally following his path. And I'm preaching left and right now. I'm making videos, posting them on YouTube and stuff like, not YouTube, posting them on TikTok and Instagram. God gave me many more friends because I started working at my hometown church. It's called Turning Point Church. Look it up on Facebook. He gave me some awesome friends that helped me out with my preaching and stuff like that. And then here comes the biggest shocker, the biggest thing that I never thought I would ever do in my entire life. And that was starting a ministry. So y'all have heard me talk about it. This is actually one of my shirts. It's called Led to the Cross Ministry. This is a hat, website, link in bio and whatnot. And what it is I learned that there are many more lost country boys out there that are probably in the same boat that I am today. And there's nothing wrong with that. So the ministry is based around that right there. Lost country boys looking for God, looking for a way out of the sin, looking for a way out of being overcome by this world. And that's where I come in. This may not turn out to be the biggest thing ever. I may never preach at a Motion conference like I want to, but with as long and hard as this journey has been starting this and preaching the good word, all I know is that if 20 people watch my video, and one person likes it, that's 20 people, 21 counting that one like, that's 21 people that I have talked to God about, that I have helped lead to God. And that's the whole point of the name, Led to the Cross. You buy one of these shirts, you embrace your faith in Christ, and you show people that you are no longer a lost soul. You are no longer a lost country guy or girl. And now you have finally been led to the cross and you are open about it. So that's my story, guys. I went from being a shrimp, little nerd, small in stature, mentally and physically, to a disciple of Christ who has started a ministry chasing after those lost country boys that were in the same boat that I was in, okay? I'm no longer small in stature and size. Physically, yes. Do I care about that? Not anymore. But mentally, I'm a warrior of Christ. And so is my awesome cameraman. So are the students that I teach at my church. So are my friends. You know, when you get caught up in your own identity within this world, you're gonna feel small. You're gonna feel irrelevant. You're going to feel out of place. And that is because you can chase after the world all you want. And that temporary satisfaction that the world has to offer, that the devil has to offer, will always keep you feeling small and out of place. In the moment, you'll feel big and proud. But when it's all said and done, you're nothing. But when you finally go to God, when you finally get led to the cross, allow God to touch your heart and soul, you become one of the strongest warriors that this world has to offer. And no one and nothing can ever tell you different, okay? Because you got God on your side, and as long as you got God on your side, nothing can beat you, guys. So that's my story, and I hope you enjoy. Go buy one of these shirts. Go buy one of these hats. Because it is a goal of mine to one day preach at Motion Conference. But if that never happens, that's fine. Because I'm more than happy with preaching on TikTok to a few hundred people a day. Love you guys. And don't be afraid to run to Christ.